So welcome to lecture series on data structures. In the previous lecture, we have discussed what is list ADT. In today's lecture, we will discuss about the various operations that we are going to perform on list ADT. So we will look at the operation one by one. So in the previous session, we have seen how to declare an array. Let me give a quick recap about it. So declaration of an array consists of two main parts. So one, you need to specify the type of data or type of element that you are going to store in the array, that is specified with the help of data type. So here int specifies I'm going to store only integer values into the array or into the list. And also you have to specify the maximum size of the list. So maximum size indicates the maximum number of elements that you can store in the particular list. There is another variable n used here. This variable n denotes the number of elements I'm going to store into the list. So this number of elements need not be same as maximum size. However, this n should not exceed the maximum size. So I can store 0 elements into the list. I can store 1 element, or I can store 5 elements, or even I can store 10 elements, which is the maximum size of the list. So this n can be any value that should not exceed the maximum size. So now let us look at the operations that we can perform on list ADT. So the first operation we are going to see is how to create a list. So a list can be created with n number of elements. So if this n exceeds the maximum size of the array, then the values or the elements that cannot be inserted into the list. So as long as this n value does not exceed the maximum size, the array elements can be stored in consecutive memory locations. So first element will be stored in the location list of 0. Second element can be found at list of 1. Third element can be found at list of 2, and so on. So this is how you create a list. So here I have declared a variable called I. So this variable points to the index. It is used for pointing to the index. So initially, I'm getting the number of elements that I'm going to insert into the list from the user. So this n represents the number of elements that I'm going to add it to the list. For example, let us assume the user is giving input value. User wants to insert 5 values into the list. So here n value will be 5. Next, what I have to do, I have to get the element that I want to insert into the list. So I'm going to get 5 elements, right? So if I'm going to get only one element, it is sufficient if I specify single variable to get. Now I'm going to get more than one element, so I have to use a looping statement to get all the 5 elements using one single scanf statement. So since array index starts from 0, I is initialized to 0 and I is less than or equal to 1. So less than or equal to n. So here n represents the number of elements, maximum number of elements I'm going to insert. So since all the elements will be stored in consecutive memory location, I is incremented by 1. I plus plus represent I is incremented by 1. So here I'm inserting the values. If n is given as 6, if I want to insert 6 values, and so all the 6 values will be stored in consecutive memory locations, array of 0, array of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 respectively. So if you see here, an array is created with maximum of 6 elements. Right? Similarly, obviously all the 6 values, it has to be stored only in consecutive memory location. I cannot store the values in random memory in case of array. So which is only possible with linked list. So in linked list, the elements need not be stored in consecutive memory location. That is a major advantage of linked list over an array, which is considered as a drawback of array. So, and why the drawback is, since it is stored in consecutive memory location, there will be memory wastage. So since we are allocating the memory in advance, so here maximum size is given as 10, right? So for all the 10 elements, memory will be allocated in advance, but here I have stored only 6 elements. So the memory allocated for the remaining 4 elements will be wasted if I'm not storing it. So this is the drawback of array, and that is why we go for linked list. So in case of linked list, we need not allocate consecutive memory. So memory is allocated at random. And if there is, so there will not be any wastage of memory. If there is any free memory, we can use it for storing some other data. And values at different locations can be linked together with the help of pointers. That is one major advantage of linked list over an array. So this is how you create a list. So the first operation is before inserting a value into the list or before deleting a value in the list, first the list has to contain some elements. So you need to create a list with some elements added to it, right? So the first operation in the list is create. So in the next video, we will see how to insert a value at a specific position into the list. And in the forthcoming videos, we will see one operations at a time. Hope you understood how to create a list. So we will meet in next lecture series with how to insert a value. Thanks for watching.